Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm just opening it up so we can all get in here. This is going to be a really fun one here tonight, too, everybody. Lots of opportunity to chat and come off mic and ask questions and interact. Good evening, Dr. Jackie.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited.
Yeah, I was looking for how to make you my co-host again. Oh,
If you
invite
just
co-host. There we go. I got you. And then I thought there was that 7 o'clock one from that group last week. They didn't turn it up, huh?
That's tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. Okay, good. I thought I missed it.
Nope, you're good. That's trying to think Central Time. I think it's 5:30 Central.
Okay, yeah, I did request to be on that one. So awesome. So hi everybody. Looking forward to an open chat time tonight. We're going to try to cover everything recruiting and just lots of questions come up this time of year. So feel free to request to be a speaker. We just have my co-host Jackie and myself here tonight. So um, we don't have any other guests because if we invite college coaches, then I can't have the audience speak. So I thought between Jackie and I, we could probably cover just about any topic. So be ready to chime in. And don't forget to invite your friends out here too. If you guys don't mind sending a retweet of our host here tonight, that would be great of our live event. It always helps bring some more people. I know some of you that are avid listeners support us a lot, so we appreciate that. And get your questions ready. We're ready tonight. I just saw something on Twitter to remind me to talk about something else. You should see my list of topics tonight. I'm not sure an hour will cover it, so I hope you guys enjoy what we've got going here tonight.
It's always a good space when you talk about recruits.
Well, as a person who went through it myself with 3 children, I don't understand why people aren't just soaking up more information. I mean, how much free information can you get? If I would have known what I know today with my first child, things would be way different, you know? So we try to just keep giving back.
Absolutely.
How's everybody doing tonight? A few more of you have joined, and I had mentioned earlier to feel free to get ready to be contributors. If you want to speak, feel free to request speaking. Either Jackie, our co-host, or myself will give you access, but would love to hear your questions and hear comments. Some of you maybe can share what you've learned about recruiting. Many of you have been through different aspects of it, so look forward to it. And I am going to get going formally here in a second, just letting everybody get on, which is exciting. Thank you all for joining. Oh, and that's a good reminder, Jackie. Down at the bottom, if you've never been on a Twitter live space before, there's some little icons or emojis down there you can click on. I'm not sure what their formal name is, but you can click on and support what people are saying or comment. There's also a reply there. You can also, I'll start this now. I am Sherry Naudine, the owner of Collegiate Sports Advocate. Most people know us as CSA, and we are hosting this open Twitter space here tonight to talk about everything softball. So we just want to thank you for joining in, and I want to introduce my co-host, Dr. Jackie.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. I'm Jackie Wins. I'm from Jersey, so a little bit of a different area, but I'm a former D2 dual sport athlete in soccer and lacrosse. I follow a ton of softball, whether that be recruiting for OU and other things, but highly invested within the community and excited to contribute here.
Well, thank you so much. So our topic tonight is everything softball. And I would love it if you guys request to be speakers and bring questions, or you can actually private message us here on our own Twitter pages. So either myself or Jackie, you can private message and we'll read it. And I'm going to start off by just giving some facts about softball. And I always use approximate terms because I'm not one of those that goes and looks for the absolute answer when I say something like there's approximately 300 Division I softball programs. There's approximately 300 Division II. There's over 400 Division III, and so on. And so you've got NAIA, and you've also got junior college, which when you add it up to be approximately 1,600, you're really talking a small fraction of recruits go Division I. And you'll hear me talk many, many times about the fit, that I'm not as concerned about the division, but I'm concerned more about where you fit and getting the best experience. So what we're going to cover tonight is, how is softball recruiting different? So much of what we face out there is what you all see on social media, and why softball does things differently than, let's say, football or baseball. And in all reality, when you dig into it, they're really not all that different. It's what it gets fed out. And I see a lot on, obviously, social media. I'm a big fan of social media. So I'm all over TikTok and I'm all over Twitter. But it's not just because somebody else is doing it doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do or the right approach for you. And that's something we've learned over time. CSA has now over 472 committed student athletes. We just picked up a Syracuse commit about 15 minutes ago. And we're over 910 student athletes that we worked with for 9 years. So I want to be able to provide you as much learning and information as I possibly can, even with some of our CSA clients are on the phone. And it's because everybody's different. So if there's one thing I want you to get across tonight that you could take home with you, is everybody's journey is different. Everybody has a unique path. And even if you're on the same team and you play the same position, your grades are going to be different. Your what we call your decision grid is something that we make here at CSA at the end, is going to have different categories. So that's what I think the discovery phrase is. So while you're thinking of questions to ask me, I am going to continue with some that I wanted to be very general about. And it starts off with, why is softball different? Softball is different because the NCAA softball recruiting rules have changed, by the way, 11 times since I've been doing this 9 years. And they kind of dictate how the process works. So one of the first things is, their only method of contact previous to September 1st, your junior year, is email. And I know with social media, it's been very prevalent. A lot of people get involved with receiving DMs from coaches. Now, they can DM you, but they can't interact with you. So it starts to become a little bit squeezy and catchy, because it's our nature, if you receive a DM, to want to respond back and interact with the coach. So that makes it awkward sometimes. I'll get screenshots from our clients and say, what do I do with this? Well, there's two things they can engage with you on. They can invite you to camp, and then they can invite you to fill out a questionnaire. And again, if any of you know or hear something different while I'm on here, I'm just telling you what I know, but I'm learning every single day. One of my favorite tags is #BeBetter, because every day I learn and grow from each of your own experiences. So some of the things I think that happen is, and what I feel is one of your biggest mistakes when you're out there doing it yourself, is that you try to do what everybody else is doing. And it's natural to do that. I look around at, competitors. I look at other sports actually more so than I look at our competitors, because we do feel we're the number one softball recruiting company out there, and just see how they're doing things and what they're doing different. And one of the biggest things is college softball does not have the number of staff available to go scouring the internet and living up on Twitter and looking for live video and live feed. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that I was going to cover here tonight is general marketing, marketing 101. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Why would you post it? Who is it intended for? What is it really doing? How is it going to help you? And I think that's the biggest mistake self-recruiting does, is you don't get feedback until it's too late, until it's after September. It's too late to get the feedback to know what lane you're in. So all of those 2 years of evaluation, and we really see it to be 2 years, they're really evaluating 8th and 9th and 10th grade, putting you on a list and really starting to open up the recruiting on September 1st. That's when the conversations happen. That's when the talking happens. But that's 2 years of a lot of investigation and a lot of engagement with the student athletes. So again, I'm going to keep talking till you guys give me questions. I'm going to cover a lot, so feel free, to hit to request to speak, and Jackie will pull you up if I don't notice you quick enough. But so the other thing I say this often is your talent's going to dictate your layer of sport that you can play. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the right fit or that it's the best fit long term for what you want to study or what you want to do. It's talent, then it is your team. And it is where you go and who you play against. So when you consider those things, I am challenged on those darn Facebook fast pitch whatever sites all the time about, well, it costs too much money and it's not fair that, these big teams have to travel and do all these things. I get you. Nobody wants to spend that money, but it's the only way that they're finding to pool the same talent layer at the same tournaments. That's why they're invites. That's why they're exclusive. That's why it's hard to get in. I mean, IDT up in Colorado is just, you can't just sign up and go. It takes a long, long time to get in there, and you have to prove your talent layer in order to get in there. And that's just one example. So talent, team, where you're going, tournaments, will the college coaches show up? And then it's going to be academics in intangibles, and I am all for the academics. So don't get me wrong. All right, I'm getting a question. Yay. What are the things you should be looking at when you get invited to a college camp? Woo, way to be open-ended. So we actually do a college camp prep, and we do it depending on if you really got invited, like they came to see you play and really watched you and said, hey, you're my talent level and I want you to come because I'm going to do a deep dive and really invest my time in watching you. Or did you just get an email like hundreds of other student athletes across the country? And that's really, really hard to figure out. People get so excited when they receive it. So we prep them depending on what it really is, if that student athlete. So we're using our own judgment and experience to helping you understand what it is that you're going to do. So like we pre-recorded if you got a elite camp invite, and not because they sent it and called it elite, but we know when it is. Or did you get invited to just a general evaluation perspective? They're coming to watch you type of camp. So there is some of that behind the scenes, and I'm telling you, I saw some amazing invite only camps last year where they were very small and they're out to the public, but for a very short time frame because that's the NCAA rules. So in fairness to the coaches, I've had some of them say, we just really don't want everybody there, and yet the NCAA says they have to have it public to bring everybody as an equal opportunity to attend those level camps. But I got actually an email from a coach this weekend. I was watching the poor Dallas Cowboys. I'm sorry. Yes, my family's based here in Dallas, and we're pretty hardcore Dallas fans. It was sad. But I got an email from a coach responding to a thank you email that one of our student athletes sent. And she said, Sherry, do these coaches really call you and give you evaluation after a camp. I just saw 120 kids. It's not possible. And my response is, yes, they do. If that is a student athlete that fits the lane. You'll hear me talk a lot about what lane are you in. When you're in that lane, they're going to give you feedback. And I'm not going to tell you who, but I got two today saying, "Man, this kid can really play. This is in my lane." They're allowed to say they like you and they're interested. That's it. They're not going to give me what details they need to work on or what skills you need to work on. That's your opportunity when you're at the camp to get that direct feedback directly with the coach. So if you got 120 kids at a camp, it's near impossible for a coach to give you that kind of feedback. So I, as most of you know, I'm not a big camp fan. I am a camp fan once they identify that you can play there. And then it's a more targeted approach because remember, I'm a marketer. So I am looking at finding the right fit. I'm looking to make sure that you have a great evaluation of where you can play versus camp, camp, camp. You'd have to go to 1,650 camps. So I'm getting another one here. It said, just went to one invite camp and it was to have their recent committed pitcher throw to everyone. Batters did not have a chance to warm up before they faced him. Yeah, I mean, how fair is that, right? I mean, is that the camp experience you paid for? And man, I'm going to go off on a bunch of tangents because that's the other thing. You got to know what you're paying for. I am a huge fan of going to camp and learning and getting more skills and drills and techniques. But is that kind of camp? Or is it really a evaluation camp where they're measuring and monitoring? I had one camp where they did just combine numbers and you had no chance to scrimmage, you had no chance to show any intangibles. And you got to know that ahead of time. You need to read those camp invites better, because one family was very disappointed. They felt like they could have gotten that someplace else. So um, I think we make a lot of mistakes because we get hungry to get in front of them, and I hear this a lot. It's my dream school. I really want to play there. Well, sure. Who wouldn't want to play at that school? The big name, big brand, great schools. So I think that's great. I think you should try them out in seventh and eighth grade. But I don't think those are recruiting in seventh, eighth grade. Go get a sense of the culture. Go get a sense of the camping and learning and developing because you're not a full-fledged developed person at this point, and not really in the recruiting process at this point. So, even evaluation, you'd have to be a pretty big fish with a lot of success so far to be an eighth grader that gets, invited. And you can go look at our portfolio at CSA. We have some that are there that are getting the true invites. Um, then we have the travel ball coach that runs around telling everybody that, oh, he gets phone calls every day and he calls coaches and gets, true evaluations on every camper. I'm just going to tell you that's not true. They don't have time to return 120 phone calls. So another question, and this, I love these ones. Why does recruiting cost so much? It doesn't have to. And that's something we say, and I don't mean my phone call tonight to be a sales pitch at all, but I was a parent too, and I flipped it on everybody. I'm going to save you money. You shouldn't have to spend that much money in recruiting. You're going to spend more on your bats and your shoes and everything else than you are in recruiting if you do it right. But if you're going it alone and you're using the camp method and you're emailing to your dream schools and you're going to the camps of your dream and you're not able to evaluate yourself, your talent level, if they're not showing up to see you play, that is a big message. So you got to kind of look around and say, who's showing up to see me play? Is my team going to tournaments where that particular coach will show up? And I usually use the name of an SEC school that's far, far away from Dallas. And I say, man, if they're not showing up to watch you play and you're an SEC quality person, they are not recruiting you. You can go to their camp, but that just means they have a lot of other people in the process above and beyond. They don't need to come out and look for you. Another great question from the inbox. As someone who will have an associate's degree before graduating high school, is community college and junior college not a good path? So, great questions again, and I love it. This is what we've learned. It's not going to be 100% right for every school, but if you have, I think it's 120 units already, you've already burned your junior college opportunities. So, we live in a state where they provide college credits, dual credits. I worked with some Hawaiians that had dual credit, and yet they couldn't test. They couldn't test at the level that they should have tested for all those dual credits. So I am a bigger tester and a GPA evaluator than I am getting dual credit for classes that may or may not even transfer, or may not even give you the educational depth of talent to get into your next level of English in college. I don't think they're teaching the same thing, and I'm being very general, so don't come for me on it. But I think you limit yourself when you take yourself out that far out of recruiting. So you're not eligible for junior colleges if you've already completed those transferable hours. So you limit yourself. But on the flip end, you have 4 years eligibility. You could take 2 of those into the master's programs. So it just depends on your talent level. If you can clearly get into Division 1, Division 2, NAIA, then a Division 3. Oh man, I want to talk about Division 3 at some point. Um, just you don't want to limit yourself if you don't have to. I would rather see quality education than quantity, I guess would be the way I'd say it. My own children graduated engineering, Texas A&M. My middle daughter graduated Kansas, and then got an MBA from Harding University. She is a D3 coach out at Hardin-Simmons. My youngest one graduated, played soccer, not softball, at Central Arkansas, #1 in her class with a 31 ACT, and I didn't feel it was an academic fit when she originally went there. She graduated top of her class, top of her department, and went on to Baylor Law School. So that's why I say there's a different spin and a different path for everybody, because my general path for a 31 ACT would not be to go to a lower end academic institution. So there's some good personal examples I can share for my own children. I want to talk about Division 3. This is something that happens a lot out there, especially for those that are not getting good advice. Division 1 does not necessarily mean you're a better athlete. And I know in football, it's pretty true. 99% are probably better athletes in Division 1 than they are elsewhere. And again, I don't want to stereotype. We do football, but not to the depth that we've had experience with softball. Division 3, my daughter's a coach. I've been to their conference tournaments. I've seen who wins their nationals. They can play ball. Don't discount the talent level. We had represented a 4-time All-American, 2 NCAA records broken in NCAA Division 3 at UT Dallas. She was phenomenal. She could have easily played Division 1, but she had different academic and future goals for herself. And by the way, she went through 4 college coach changes. I love this young lady. She defied all of the issues out there. She didn't change teams because her coach left. She didn't get upset or bothered. She didn't get off her track. She was very determined and dedicated to what it was that she wanted to learn. So feel free again. I'm going to keep answering questions if you want to shoot them to me. Jackie, I love it. Come on out.
All right, so I was just going to mention about the divisions because this was something, and I think across all sports, it's really hard because you envision yourself, right, that goal on top of the mountain to be Division 1, right, which I love. I love the fact that you want to reach the top of the mountain and things like that. But what I do like to say is don't take anything else off the table, right? Like keep the table open. Don't limit your own self and where you're looking, because if I would have guessed you, I was verbally committed to a D1 university within the SEC, and I'm gonna let you know I was burnt out from soccer, like straight up burnt out. And I wanted the name on the back of the card, things like that, and the coach switched. Okay, coach left within the recruiting process, and I said at that time, I turned to my parents and I said, you know what? I'm going to look at every option I got on the table. And thankfully, my parents really wanted to ensure that I had other options. Just because something like this, you never know. And no joke, within a few weeks of being there in preseason, I broke my back. Now, you can imagine, you're like, what? And so it was at that point that I was happy of where I went to school, right? That I chose the school that was best for me. Because even though I broke my back, there was other things going on, lots of medical, I was able to, right, be and choose to play in an environment that I loved, right? So even being around the team, having the medical assistants, things like that, and being able to complete the academic track that I wanted, that was huge for me. So I always like to say, keep it on the table. Don't limit yourself, and just let the process work and fold how it needs to.
Man, I love hearing everybody's individual journeys because it really does. And I would challenge you guys to reach out to some student athletes that are above you that have graduated. We will try to bring on some, and maybe even on one of our Twitter calls to chat with you about some of the challenges of, being a student athlete and what they go through. And it brings back to one of the questions here in the box. Do colleges look at time management? I think any of you that are my clients know 100% the reason we developed a time management program was Coach Hutch told me when Sierra Romero was one of my young student athletes way back when she was a little one. But I was watching her play in Michigan, and Coach Hutch said, Sherry, they get here, their parents have done everything to help them, including managing where they come and where they go. And don't get me wrong, I had three student athletes and a corporate America degree and a job and degree, and so did my husband. We really managed our own family time management. My kids weren't managing my calendar, but we teach that so that they can become independent because still to this date, the number one issue they struggle with as freshmen is time management. And then it creates stress. Then it creates mental pressure. And what it is they don't have the tools, then the coping skills and the actual time management tools. And we teach that. So that was a great question. Thank you. And then the next question was, what are the things you should be looking at when you get invited to a college camp? Yeah, you should. That's your decision grid. You should be creating a list of things that you want. Now, I'm going to flip it again because what you think and what you see from the NCAA calendar is, oh, what degree do you want? I'm sorry, everybody, but at 14 or 15 years old, I would be shocked if you end up studying and becoming a professional doing what you think you want to do now. It's just you haven't been exposed to enough careers and opportunities to actually be doing it. And I tell everybody I wanted to be Pat Benatar and a race car driver. So if that doesn't age me and make a few of you laugh out there, I don't know what does, but that's what I wanted to be when I was 15. I don't think you should lock into what your degree is yet. Most major universities have a route to your degree. I have one young lady doing signing of the deaf. You really can't get another undergraduate degree that would make you that proficient in something that technical. So, there's very few that defy that. But other things you should look at when you get invited to a college camp is, did they come see you play? If they came to see you play and invited you, then you're looking at a pretty good match. If they didn't invite you and they just grab profiles and are just inviting the whole world to their camp, parents, I don't know what you're doing by putting your kids on an airplane, flying across the country. In Dallas, you can go left or right, and you're 2,000 miles on an airplane and spending all that money when you didn't evaluate the ACT, SAT requirements to get in there, the talent layer. Are you playing with and against other student athletes that are, potential recruits at that layer? If you're not, man, I would wait and challenge those coaches to come see you play if you're really a target for that university. I'm just reading all the questions. Thank you guys so much. This is awesome. What age does emailing college coaches become an aspect of recruiting? I can tell you right now, we have eighth graders emailing, and we had one snarky Twitter up there from a college coach that said, don't target, why are 28s and 27s targeting me? Well, number one, our student athletes are not being advised to target Division 2, 3, NAIA or JUCO because they're just too young. But if they are intending on or hoping for an opportunity in a big D1 school or a top level D2 school that's really competing at the regional level, then sure, nothing wrong with going to a camp or emailing them. It's about relationship. It's about developing interest and uncovering what you like or don't like about each other. So, there's a lot of other things. And again, I'm not saying don't go to camp. I'm just saying, man, parents, you shouldn't have to put so much money out there to figure out where you're going to play. Another question from the inbox. This is awesome. As someone who will have an associate's degree, okay, we got that one, college. Let's see here. I'm new to the whole showcase recruiting scene. What is your opinion, the best way to get attention at scouts? We actually have prep, a whole prep that we record that teaches you how to get recruited. So the tip I'll give you there is it's not camp. You're going to a tryout. Switch your mindset, change your approach, change your attitude, and consider it a tryout, because every time they see you, if you're not doing enough at that camp to make them notice you, then you wasted time and money going to that camp. They should know your name. They should be interested in talking to you. And Jackie's a big OU fan here, but when we took our daughter, who got invited to Patty's camp when we first moved to Texas, and she ran over to us through 100 some odd kids and said, "Who are you? What's your name? I want to invite you for a visit." I told my husband, I almost cried. I was like, "What?" That's how it really happens when your kid is good enough and they see you at a camp and they can identify you, and you were sent there because your coach made the match or they came to see you play before and invited you, then that's a good match. Um, Other things at the camps, if you're posting camp photos, it's cute, it's memories. But if you're tagging coaches, and I know there's a couple coaches out there that tell you to tag them, all you're doing is promoting the university. You're not necessarily, from a marketing perspective, marketing yourself appropriately. And I had this happen once. A pretty average level Division II and a big, huge Power 5 conference in our area, and a young lady tagged both of them. Oh, well, which one is it? Which layer are we in? Where are we going? What are we doing? It was a real mismatch. And then worse, I had a coach say, "Well, wouldn't it be interesting if I only tagged the 10 kids that I'm recruiting?" Because at the NFCA conferences 2 years ago, it was actually an ACC coach, a Pac-12 coach, and an SEC coach that said they call it being hijacked. They call it, one said, "I don't even go to my Twitter anymore because it's so irrelevant because I can't read through it because I didn't invite you to put your stuff on my page." I think Twitter itself is used in a different way versus what softball colleges really want. They don't have the time and the wherewithal to sort through 375,000 student athletes tagging them. So we've, for many years, and most of the high-end clubs do not tag. They don't need to. They have those relationships already set up. There's got to be a better way. Jackie, I see your hand up. Go for it.
Yeah, I was just going to tag along. Social media is so interesting, especially as you go through recruiting. You're going to see and you're going to follow a lot of the top recruits, especially I know that there's a good amount in here who I'm sure will be highly sought after. But if you're not one of those that you feel like, are some of the top percent right now, right? It Be careful of who you follow, because maybe that top percent is doing something that doesn't mean that it's best for you, right? And you're recruiting, and who is looking at you, because often I see that, like, oh, I see somebody, a recruit following somebody. Let's say I'm just going to use OU because I'm a fan. Somebody's following somebody who's being highly recruited by OU, and they just duplicate that because that's what they're seeing. That's not necessarily what's going to make you marketable. It could actually turn people off that you're looking, that who are looking at you. So really, this is a time where you can really lead yourself, and sort of take note and look around, ask questions, send questions to us, and just really invest in the fact that you are marketing yourself. You are your own brand. And because a institution and a coach and a team is going to invest in you, and so they want to see what they're going to get for you, not what another recruit's doing that you're duplicating. So that's something to take note.
Huge insights, Jackie. I'm glad you see it from your perspective, being so active on these social media sites. The other thing I see student athletes doing is all of a sudden some new trend starts. This year, a trend started where anytime a college sends marketing material, and they're allowed to send marketing material to you, they're holding it up, and they're showing it all over and taking a picture of it. It's not necessarily helping you, and it's not necessarily helping you get, I mean, I would ask the question, why? Why are you posting it? What do you think you're going to get from it? Because it does nothing to help you. In fact, I get a little snarky. So I had one guy almost write a TikTok about it, holding up, junk mail they got at home. And I don't mean these universities or junk mail, but oh, look at me. I got my insurance, bill here today. Because it really doesn't mean anything to it. It's just part of the process. And it's nice. I mean, we have a folder of it that my child received during the day, even a handwritten one from UCLA. I mean, those are memories we have that we kept in a file, but we didn't put it all over social media. I would even go as far as in the recruiting process for our 2024s, which we've already committed over 50, is we had a young lady go and put on a uniform and was going to splash her visit all over. And I was like, oh man, this kid was so much better than this particular university, and had another visit that same weekend at the one that was bigger and better. And I was like, is this the right message? That you're going to go and put out there that you've got this uniform on and that you went on this visit. And I'm talking cavities apart from each other. And boy, when she got to the Big Ten one and everything was great and it was the right thing, she was thankful she didn't post those uniform pictures. I also saw another Big Ten coach say they don't like it. You got to earn that uniform to post it. We saw a dad, it's got to be a dad, it cannot be a kid, that has a picture of themselves, and every camp they've been to, they're photoshopping the uniform on the kid. I mean, what are we doing? Whew. Yeah, Jackie, thank you. We collect it because we learn what not to do by what other people do and the reaction by the coaches. So again, we're always gonna um, tip our hats to asking the coaches. I even have one SEC coach that I email when I've got a compliance issue and say, "Can this really be done? Why would somebody do this?" So I count on compliance people telling me when somebody's doing something to guide our student athletes. So somebody asked what the cost of our service is. I would love to talk to your parents. I am not one that splashes price all over because it depends on what you're looking for, because we don't just take everybody either. We want to make sure that you're the right fit for our services. That, again, is a passion. When I first came out and started this 9 years ago, we called it Truth Recruiting, because I don't want to be those other guys that just put you in there and don't have a plan to getting you recruited. Our job is to stay with you until you graduate college. That is our method. That's why we do what we do and give so much free information out here to those of you who may be going awry, because we don't want to see the portal growing. I think the last I saw, there was over 800 still left in it. So, man, and everybody goes, "Oh, well, the portal's a good thing." Yes, the portal was always there. It just wasn't advertised, and it wasn't, sorry for the phraseology, it wasn't pimped out like it was the greatest thing in the world that you just accept an offer and you go there and you change every year. That is not what softball recruiting is about. That's not what the universities want. They got to create a team. And I know, man, a big picture, something happens, and we had a big player leave when my daughter was in college, man. It wasn't looked upon very nicely, and nobody was cheering for her over on that other team. And I think some of it is that there's no commitment to the program, and I think you need to be well committed. They're committed to you, they're offering you, and boy, I know I feel the shrapnel already from the people that say, "Well, the coaches leave." Well, coaches always leave. They're always getting promoted. They always have new jobs. Very few have stayed there more than the 5 or 6 years that you're in the recruiting process. That's just an understatement. Go look. You can look on everybody's rosters. Then, oh well, what if the coach mistreats me? What? I mean, I could just go on that one on its own subject. And if you want to banter with me one on one on that one, I'd love to be challenged. Yes, there's not great coaches. There's not perfect coaches, but you should know a lot of that before you get in there. So I'm seeing some more questions. This is awesome. Um, let's see here. Does your service cost? Yeah. Okay. We'll cover that one later. Is the COVID year still impacting 2024 grads with recruiting? Woo, you're my favorite person today with all these great questions. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Here's how it flows down. Follow me. Class of 20, 19, 18, and 17. I had to write them down so I could walk with you on this one. Are the ones that got their fifth year back, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure those were the numbers. They got a fifth year. they're still in there. The 20s don't graduate till 2024. Then you have the portal thrown in on there. Then what happened, like in our portfolio, we had 22% or 20% of our 2022s secure a spot in junior college because there was just not spots to be had in 22. Even 23. 23 is honestly, I think, the worst year of them all. It was really the catch up for all the terrible portal and all that. So a lot of junior college, and God bless them. I think they're some of the best coaches in the business. I think they are some of the best trainers. They play double the schedule, and their whole goal is to get you recruited out and get you to the next level. So think about the 22s that we have in here that are first year freshmen, 20% of them, they're going to come out on top of the 25 money. So the 24 money is being affected by the 23s that are, sorry, the 21s that are in there in JUCO that are transferring out. It's still cascading. It's going to continue to cascade down. We're going to let our friend Tommy come in and speak. Hey, Tommy, how are you?
He's connecting. He'll be
Okay, gotcha.
2 seconds.
Awesome. So it is still going to affect you. It's going to affect you for a while. And until the portal settles down and until we all do a better job of finding the right fit, that portal's still going to be there. And again, there's good part and there's not so good parts. So, Tommy.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you? So I was just gonna pop in with a quick little bit of information, and it's really the only thing. And if I'm wrong on this, I greatly apologize. But I talked to a parent from a Power Five program, and 2020s are not getting a COVID year because they were not affected. So I think the 2019s are the last one that'll get the COVID year.
Thank you, Tommy.
So
I
there
think
is,
I think you're right. I think they were coming in when it happened.
yeah, he because we talked a little bit
Excellent.
about it, and he was like, oh, yeah, I wish, candidly, he was like, I wish my kid got the extra G's, but we came in right after it. So there are some schools too, kind of like you said, they're going to be in a better position than others because they're about to wrap up with the COVID year, and they only have one or two COVID kids, and that have one more year. And so it's an interesting dynamic. I hate that it's impacting recruiting as much as it is, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to pop in with that little piece.
Oh, that's the best. I love it. You guys all jump in and get your voice out here. But Tommy, I appreciate that. The knowledge is best. I literally tried to count backwards, but you were right on it. So there was another question here. It said, if you had to narrow it down, what is the most common no-no you come across when helping new prospective student athletes and develop their brand? I'm going to tell you, self-marketing and doing what the Joneses do and not understanding where you can play. Less is more. The more talented the student athlete, the less you have to post. It almost starts to look desperate. And my heart hurts. I see some of the videos and I'm like, I wish there was a nice way to say, oh, girlfriend, take that down, work on this and work on that. And it was an SEC coach that told me, when you put up live video, I'm going to find fault in it. That's not what we're looking for. So our model is a skill video by a professional, and if you haven't seen our skill videos, go check them out. They're amazing. They're done the way the college coaches ask them to be. They're not promotion videos, they're skill videos. Then we do an end of season offensive highlight, end of season defense highlight, and then we have one box on their page that is kind of their weekly, like if they have a big week in high school. But we're not popping it on Twitter. We're putting up their end of season defense on Twitter. Well, that's once every 3 seasons, right? So it's not this constant exercise videos, pitching workouts. That's not what they want. And I argued with one of my committed student athletes that was putting live footage up there. I said, hey, what are you doing? Why are you putting that up there? And she said, well, my coach wanted to see it. Aha, your coach does, but not the public Twitter audience. I said, text it to your coach, email it to your coach. If you're still in the emailing age group, email it to your coach and say, I know you were interested in seeing some more of my updated hitting. Email it. That's not what Twitter's for. And once you commit, I don't know what these committed girls are doing. It's not helping your NILs. It's not helping you do anything better, but create what I call the haters. There's some haters out there. And unfortunately, we have to deal with them. So there's one speaker here that wants to come
How y'all
on.
doing?
Hey, Mario.
Hello. Yeah, how's LSU softball gonna be this year? Y'all know?
This particular space, we're talking specifically about recruiting
Oh,
tonight, and I think Beth Torino is a phenomenal recruiter. She is a 23 coming in that was one of our recruits. I don't doubt that she's going to be a big time player.
yeah.
So that's the best I can give you on that one, Mario. But we're talking about prospective student athletes in the recruiting process. So,
Okay.
yep, welcome.
Oh,
Excellent. And then let me see if we had any other questions here. Hopefully that narrowed it down to less is more and being very targeted to where your talent is valued. You're going to hear me say that over and over again. Your dream school, your dreams will come true at your dream school, and it will be one that you don't even have on your decision grid right now. And I do that when I do an onboarding call. I show our decision grid, and the young lady I'm using there, she probably had 50 schools on there, and she's committed 2024, and it's not at any of those that were on there. So it tells you how deep into the layers that we go. So Jackie, I don't know if I'm missing any other questions. Oh, I got another one. When should you move on from a school if you're not getting feedback after going to camps? That's a hard one, because that goes back to the comment I made that it's hard to track them down. And this is unfortunately when everybody gets ghosted. These coaches don't want to tell you no. However, some may not be ready to make that decision, or they may be going through the layering of the student athletes that they're looking at to see who is a potential candidate or not. And they may be trying to keep you on hook. It might be dancing with you a little bit. It also might be the timing of the season. Right now, they're finishing camps. They're focused on getting out and having their season. You're going to watch a lot of them really shut it off and focus, because they got a job to do. This is their job. This is what they work all year for. And then they'll kick back up again. I call it, they'll have 1 foot in April and 1 foot out, but it'll be more about where they're going to see the student athletes. So my advice would be, make it personal. Send them updates about what you've accomplished, not Twitter again. And then, get some help, find people to help you, understand where you can play. And I know the question came from one of ours, so thank you very much. And hopefully we're getting in that lane. And it's not too late for the 2024s. That's the hardest thing, is a lot of 24s went off the table. If you haven't seen our Twitter pin, we've pinned it. We try to keep track of all the commitments across the country. If you all are out there on Twitter and you're bored and you see somebody committed, shoot it to me. Send it to me on email. Send it to me on text. I try to keep that list updated. I have a bunch in my inbox right now to update, but that's the only way we know. Most companies that are for profit, Extra Innings and even Flow Softball, I don't believe that they're keeping an active list. They're just taking whatever comes their way. So hopefully that helped you there. And then let's see. I saw another one come in here. When colleges want you to play a game, they try to find mistake. I'm not sure I understand this one. When colleges watch you play in games, do they try to find mistakes to see your attitude towards it? Not necessarily. I don't think that's their intention. I heard a lot of coaches say they watch more of you outside of the field, like they'll watch you walking to and from your car, interacting with your parents, especially if they're deep diving on you. Remember, they're trying to get you off their target list, because there's thousands of you sitting on their target list when you're getting evaluated. So yeah, attitude, boy. I see it in the parking lot all the time. I see it in the elevators at hotels. I see it at restaurants. Man, all eyes are on you. That would be the best advice there. And then next question was, when do coaches close 2025 recruitment window? They don't. It's when they get what they're looking for their particular program. We had 2023 still Division I committing last September. It depends on their situation. So a 2025 has not even started. The Division II window opens first in June 15th. Don't be afraid, man. Interact with them. Go with them. Then the 25 Division One starts September 1st. That's just the beginning. That's when it all opens up. You got 300 coaches that got to go through that. So it will be well into the following summer and then well into fall their senior year. So do we have another person that wanted to speak, Jackie?
It was a bot. Yeah, it was a bot. You're good.
How do you know that?
Let me tell you, after many bots, it's a skill.
Oh, that is great. Thank you. I couldn't have a better co-host, Dr. Jackie here. Thank you so much. And did I catch all the questions here?
I think you got to most of them, if not all. I just was going to piggyback off of one thing that you said, and they really do value, I mean, everything, and everyone's opinion around your school. I'm not kidding. The amount of coaches for various sports who I've ran into in the hallway because they're coming to talk to whoever in school or whatnot, and they just stop and they say, "Hey, do you have so and so in class?" And I say, "Yes, I do." And oh, how are they? Do they come to class on time? Are they respectful? Do they get their work done when they miss? All these questions come up. So maybe they don't ask straight away your teachers as they walk through the hall, but they're going to ask, whether it be your coaches or whoever, what that looks like. Who are you as a person? Sort of how I mentioned earlier. They want to know what their investment is going to be, right? Is it a shaky one, or is it pretty solid? And so that's something to keep sort of on your front of your mind as you continue your academics. And then also when it comes to the videos, and I've mentioned this in another space that we've had, is be careful in terms of your videos, exactly. And I know this might sound archaic, but exactly what you wear, and the aspect of, I've seen videos pop on in sports bras and things like that where they're hitting. And there is a sense of professionalism, right? I don't like to say things are wrong or right, but there needs to be a sense of professionalism in this brand. You are, right, marketing yourself. So you also need to sort of hold that. And I say that because I've seen it from decent, profiled recruits. So just to send that out.
That is awesome. I cringe because I'm a little older and very conservative with my look and how you look. So I think it's great to hear it from you younger folks out there. So another question came in: how do you know if a coach likes you after a camp? You're gonna know. You're gonna sense it, feel it. They interact with you, and yet on the flip, you don't want to mistake kindness for recruiting either. Just because they know your name and gave you an MVP award doesn't necessarily mean. When you really know is when they show up to watch you play and they start engaging with your travel coach, because that's the next step. And again, if that's in reverse, I still think you should do the NCAA process, which is email them to get them to see you play. When they show up to see you play and they see your profile page and the content that you've given them, like on our each student athlete has their own page on our site, and they get that opportunity, then they come see you play, and then they invite you to camp. Then you're going down the right lane. But even so, Division One, when September 1st comes, we had one girl, several every year, get over 30 opportunities, and their emails, their phone calls, their 1201, some of the crazy stuff that happens. But it doesn't necessarily mean that's the one. That just means that it's time to open up the recruiting interaction and have that conversation with these coaches, so that it's kind of like the ball is in your court. Now you get to really evaluate them because they've shown their hand to telling you that they really like you and they're interested and they want to start the process. And then that's the really, really hard time to go it alone, especially if you're a very talented student athlete. It is very hard to manage that because a lot of people pick the one because it was their dream school, but they didn't do enough evaluation because it is so emotional and it is so intense. And the shine and the show that they put on, the visits are just wickedly neat. If you haven't seen some of those, I mean, it's awestruck. It looks like football at some of the big universities. But does that mean you're going to be a player or a contributor? There's so many things. And then dissecting the actual offer. We learned a lot this year listening to the offers that were on the table and advising the right parents for the right part of the offer. And what does that piece of the offer really mean? And will you play? Are you a key contributor? Are they counting on you? Are they putting you on the bench to make you a red shirt? I mean, just, you know, those type of things come about. So there's so much more to it as you go through it. So another one said here, I love it. I know you said not to post a lot on social media, posts to show the younger athletes to work ethic. So they don't really care about that. That I mean, they might say that in a camp, but no coach is really following somebody to see your work ethic, character, or community service or academics. It's all talent, then team, then where you play. The whole goal is to get them to see you play. Those things come when they get to know you. There's no way they're going to be interested in 375,000 student athletes putting that content up on social media. And that, I think that is such a great question, because that's exactly what people feel they need to do. Because, yeah, coaches say, sure, we want to see you. We want to know more about you. They don't, not in that way. I mean, you got to remember, social media only came up, Twitter only came up during COVID. So the best way is to use their process. The question was followed up with how. You've got to use their process, email them, get them to come see you play. If you don't have, and your coach doesn't have relationships, that's when you need somebody like us. And again, not a sales pitch. I'm just telling you that's why we started this business, because then you get stopped when you're going it alone. You're spending all that money. And then I'm promising you, every year, September 2nd, we get that phone call from student athletes, many of them. I don't know what happened. I don't know how come I didn't get recruited. I don't understand. I'm better than this kid. I'm better than that kid. And man, and you're right. If you don't have that much money, it's hard. You're spending the money and you don't even know you're spending it, or you're spending it in the wrong place. And I don't want to be telling parents how to spend their money, but there is a certain amount of spend you do have to make. It is an elite experience, an elite opportunity, and there's different ways to be frugal and effective, and the best way is to get your grades up. The academic money is going to mean more, and it's going to be more valuable in the process. The athletic money is thin. They got to roster a lot of people on 12 scholarships in Division 1. So if you're playing sports to get an equal dollar for dollar scholarship, I think you can all do the math on that one. That's not why we all play. We're playing for being, student athletes, and the honor of the journey and the life skills that you learn and live along the way. And it makes you a one percenter in life. The way you get hired to the next career destination for yourself, and where you take it, the life skills you learn are invaluable. When you're going to law school or med school, the other people in the classroom don't have what you have. So it's incredible. And we had a UPenn commit this week. I can't say enough about Ivy League, and you're paying some pretty big numbers, but the effects of that university on your resume are priceless. So hopefully that answered enough. But I'll tell you, if you give me a call, you go to my website and you put it on there, I will call your parents. I will walk you through how it will save you that money. Jackie, I'm sorry, I flipped the page. I just saw your hand up, so go for it.
No, I was just gonna say it was funny because you were leading right to it. I was like, "Wow, we're on the same page right now." Is that to do the volunteering and everything else is valuable, but not everything. I think we are almost are with recruiting, sort of doing this. Everything has to go on the page, right? There's value in those things, right? And one part is the fact that it is so much easier on a coach if academically and through your full resume you can get money from the school because of what you were saying. There's really not as many scholarships as what people think. And a lot of athletes, even at OU, don't get full rides. So there is something to be able to do 50-50, or hopefully even more, right? So even having a resume and doing those things are important because you are building who you are in that foundation. So when they do learn about you, they like that, right? And that there is something there. But highly suggest in doing those things. But remember that not everything needs to go on there. You don't want to lay out the table. You want them to be intrigued, right? You want to ask, not, just be flooded with your stuff and whatnot. It's sort of like this aspect of knowing how much to show and how much to tell. But definitely think about the fact of academics, because it is the reality that right now the pay is not the same as the men, right? In the MLB and things like that. We just don't have that system. So you need to be able to market yourself to get the best education, to be able to, you know, accomplish those tasks, but just know exactly when and how.
And I will tag on to that, Jackie, because the messenger was saying her GPA, which is phenomenal. But I'm sitting in this great state of Texas, and they laugh at our GPAs. We're actually quite a joke about it because, in fact, it's an administrator that told me about it again this weekend. They are elevated, they are padded, they have redos, they have makeup tests. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're accomplishing what they need to be accomplishing. They're just getting more tries. So they call them watered down, or, honestly, they're disrespected. So I am still a big fan of testing. Test early and often, and keep testing, because you will get more money from your academic tests. Or some people say, oh, well, they're waiving the ACT. That just means they're waiving your money and they're only considering your GPA. But that does not mean you're going to actually compete in the classroom, and it doesn't mean it's sticky. I cannot tell you enough how much the academic money is more sticky than your playing money. And it means more, as Jackie mentioned, for your university, and the what ifs, that we're not going to be student athletes the whole rest of our lives. So any last questions? I can't believe this is fun. I was really nervous about this conversation tonight because it was just me and Jackie, and I didn't have, a whole bunch of speakers lined up. But I knew this was just such a great month. So many questions coming our way on a daily basis. I thought, you know what, I'm going to put this out on social media. Many of our own student athletes are here on the call. We have a brand new team that we just brought on that got on board in January. So there's just a lot of information, and it's a lot, and that's why we're here to help you. We're here to answer as much as we can, and hopefully we provided you all of that content. If we miss something, feel free to private message us, or and somebody said, when are you doing it again? Thank you, that was so awesome. What a lead in. I'm doing this every Monday night, 8 p.m. CST, and if you have topics you want me to dive deeper into, I really need somebody else to help me think of them, because I cover these same topics every day. I have podcasts on my website that I need to redo because they've gotten kind of old, and I'm going to figure out how to turn some of these saved Twitter lives into my podcast on our website too. But there's just so much information and conversation to get out there, and we want to help you, and we want to, make softball and recruiting and the experience a better place. So my co-host Jackie, will you take us out with your great words?
Absolutely. I mean, just overall, there's a lot of student athletes in here. Listen, the road is not smooth. I mean, for those who it is, absolutely cheers. But for about 90% or more, it is not smooth. Is it ups and downs? Absolutely. There are many questions. As you saw today, I mean, we spent an hour and haven't even sort of nicked the shield of it all. If your question didn't get answered here, send it on over, and make sure that it gets answered at some point. But just know that there's a whole team of people who are rooting you on, and especially within female athletics, like, don't quit on your dreams and don't limit yourself. Do what you can, put yourself in the best position, and good things will come.
Fantastic. And if you didn't already, friend us on our Twitter sites here and stay connected with us. And thank you guys. We love you. We're here for you. And, keep connecting with us. So thank you, Jackie and Tommy. Appreciate your insight and information. You guys are wonderful. And we will see you next week. Have a great week, everybody.
Have a good one.